certainly will be. So I think those are the two guys you probably target. I do also love Jaylen Brown. I love his physical tools. I love his ceiling and potential. But he's just too raw for the Celtics to go at that pick. I think either Hield or Murray has got to be the pick at 3 if you keep the pick.
Now, your opinion, do they keep the pick or they move it?
Honestly, I think they're going to try to move it. Again, because they're in a win-now situation right now. If I'm sure Danny Ainge is going to be getting calls for the draft pick. I'm sure he'll be making calls as well. Do you target a guy like a DeMarcus Cousins? Does Blake Griffin potentially come on the block? Maybe a Jimmy Butler? These are names we have, heard rumored the Celtics possibly going after before. So I think if there comes, a deal that Ainge thinks could help him right now for an established NBA star, he's going to pull the trigger. Whether or not other teams are going to be able to, are going to want to actually trade a star for number 3 pick is another scenario. But if a deal comes along for one of those type of guys, I think Ainge definitely will pull the trigger there for sure.
Lastly, now, if they keep the pick and you're the GM right now, and Danny Ainge hands you the guy to select, who you write down on a piece of paper to take?
Man, it's so tough between Buddy Hield and Jamal Murray. But, man, I like Jamal Murray's game a lot. I think he's such a smooth jumper. He's still very, very young, but at the same time, he's very polished. This guy shot 50% from the floor last year in college, 40% from 3. He's drawn some comparisons to Chauncey Billups. The potential of pairing him in the backcourt with Isaiah Thomas is just tantalizing with those two. I think they'll comprise a very, very nice duo for now and for the future. And as much as I like Buddy Hield, I'm just not entirely comfortable with his ceiling. I think he's going to be a good player on the NBA level, but I think Murray's tools put him above Hield in terms of potential. So I would go with Jamal Murray at that pick if they use it.
Matthew, if we hop online, how does everybody find you on social media, and how can they contact you?
Well, they can find me online at _banter on Twitter. I also got my own website, baselinebanter.com. You can find my writing at Today's Fast Break and Bleacher Report. And you can contact me through email, MatthewSchmidt51@yahoo.com. And like I said, follow me on Twitter at _banter.
Got to follow my man Baseline Banter. Matthew, like I told Sean before, you got to come on again. And we're going to give you a little bit more than a couple minutes to do the hot seat, but we're glad to have you on talking Celtics. So enjoy the green, my friend. We'll speak soon.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Up next here on NBA Draft Fast Break, we have the editor of Arizona Sports, and he also writes for Right Side of the Sun, which is one of the best Phoenix Sun sites you have. And they have 2 first-round picks in this year's lottery. Our good friend Kellan Olsen. Kellan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You know what? This is my favorite night of the year. I mean, outside of Christmas Day games and the finals, the NBA Draft Lottery is basically the best day of the year for those who have lost all season. And the Phoenix Suns tonight had 2 picks in the top 13. And what are your thoughts on where both those picks slotted? And your take on them?
Yeah, they were hoping to move up to 3 or the top 2. Everyone knows this is the top 2 player draft with Ingram and Simmons. Those are the 2 real prizes of this draft. And then there's a drop off. And with the Suns having so many guys at guard and center already, Simmons or Ingram would have both fit really well for them. And even a guy like Dragan Bender at the 3rd pick would have been okay, but listening to your conversation talking Celtics there, it sounds like Bender could fall to 4, which is the most ideal scenario for them. But the question is, at pick 13, there are guys like Deonta Davis, Marquise Chris, Henry Ellenson perhaps, and Domantas Sabonis out of Gonzaga. There are a lot of power forwards at 13, so should they even take a power forward at 4 with the possibilities at 13?
Now, you just mentioned who they're looking at the picks right now. Is their main focus on Dragan Bender, or do you think they look at one of the swing players like a Jaylen Brown at 4?
I think it has to be Bender because of the way Jaylen Brown and Henry Ellenson as well out of Marquette, who were both guys who were projected in the 4 to 6 range at the start of this process. They're starting to fall off more. We're seeing Brown going outside like the top 6 or 7 in a lot of mock drafts right now from guys who have a lot of info. And Henry Ellenson as well could even fall to that 13th pick when it could be a guy you considered at 4 at the start of the year. Bender is the guy that they could really use right now. They're a team that really struggles defensively, and they're 2 young prospects in the lineup. On the perimeter, T.J. Warren and Devin Booker both struggle immensely defensively. That's not what Bender is. He brings a lot of defensive versatility, moves like a wing at 7'1", can switch on to guys. That could be a really useful guy for them, as well as his perimeter shooting.
if they have 2 picks in the first round, especially in the lottery, do they package them together and try to move up to maybe 1 or 2 and maybe try to entice maybe the Lakers or the Sixers, or you think they might try to find a team that's willing to trade some veterans to get up that high, or you think they should keep the picks?
I think they should try and trade up if they can because, like I said earlier, Ingram and Simmons are the 2 prizes in this draft, and the Suns have needs at both of those positions. They also have Tyson Chandler at center, which is a signing that looks like it didn't quite work out. That's a guy who just, lost a step in the first year of his contract of a 4-year deal, and that's not a good deal for them. And then Brandon Knight as well has said that he is adamant that he doesn't see his role changing despite Eric Bledsoe coming back from knee surgery and Devin Booker coming off one of the best rookie seasons in the NBA. So they have players that they can move, and they also have the picks. They have the picks from the Miami Heat trade with Goran Dragic, and they own all of their picks in the future. If they could find any way to move up to 1 or 2, which I don't see as likely just because everyone knows this is a 2-player draft, but if they could, I think they would really like that, especially with the risk of a guy like Bender going number 3 and then having to decide between Brown, Ellenson, or a guard, even if they are pretty heavy at guard already.
Do you think this team could possibly trade for a veteran? I know they went and got Chandler last year. I mean, one of these disgruntled veterans, a Jimmy Butler, maybe a Paul George. Do you see this team maybe try to call one of them, especially when you have 4 and 13 together?
Yeah, absolutely. Any big name that's available they want to go for. Ryan McDonough, the general manager, said year after year at the start of the rebuild when he got there that they were looking for the big names to be available. There was Kevin Love. There was the talk of Eric Bledsoe to Minnesota. Then they go out and get Brandon Knight, who turns out not to be exactly the player that they had hoped for, at least in his first full season in Phoenix. But if any of those big names are available and they can throw around assets to beat out hopefully the likes of Boston or Philly, they should absolutely do that. The front office does want to win. They did sign Tyson Chandler. They signed Tyson Chandler knowing that would appeal to LaMarcus Aldridge. Earl Watson was in the room when they were negotiating or pitching, I should say, LaMarcus Aldridge, and now he is the head coach of the team. This is an organization I think wants to win now, 6th straight year missing the playoffs. So if they could move these picks for a veteran, like you said, especially if the draft falls out with that 1, 2, 3, they would definitely like that.
Before we let you out here, Kellan, tell everybody where to find you, and also I think you do radio as well too, right?
No, I don't. I actually work for a radio station, ArizonaSports.com. We have our own little blog there called Empire of the Suns. You can follow Empire of the Suns at Empire of the Suns. You can follow me at Kellan Olsen, KellanOlson. You can find me at BrightSideOfTheSun.com as well. I'm going to be bringing draft coverage on both of those sites heading into late June.
Basically, anything all Phoenix Suns, I mean, between this site and our good friend Paul Coro, the Suns are covered here at NBA FCP Radio. Trust me. Bright Side of the Suns, one of the best places to listen to find work on there because Dave King and that team is really great, and Kellan's one of the best people over there. Kellan, thanks for stopping on the show. And when you're going to do this again, you guys spend more than 15 minutes with us. We definitely got to hold some time in for you.
Thanks for having me. Sure thing.
All right, Marc. We talked Phoenix Suns a little bit before we get to the Sacramento Kings. You know what? Actually, our Sacramento Kings guy is on. He's also a good friend of the show, also runs Cowbell Kingdom out in Sacramento. He is our good friend was on the show a couple weeks ago, Leonel Beast. Leonel, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Well, you're in the land of Boogie. You're in the land of Willie Cauley-Stein. Marc, here's a question for both of you guys. Did Willie Cauley-Stein was the best-dressed guy in the draft room last night during this draft process? Was he the best-dressed guy in the room?
I think so.
I'm like, yeah, but, he didn't turn out being the best at anything else. You know what I'm saying, as far as where he was picked. He came on late season, though, so, we'll have to see what happens going forward.
Now, last time that Lon was on the show, the Kings were in turmoil. Now they got their guy, Dave Jordan is now the new head coach out there. Hopefully they got Boogie on board. Where do you see this pick? What are your initial thoughts on this pick? Were you surprised? You thought they were going to move up? What are your initial thoughts on the pick?
Well, as a Kings reporter, I'm just glad that they're going to have a chance to draft a player, a prospect for the team to get better and improve. Because if it fell 11th, then the Bulls would have swooped up and gotten the pick. So that's a positive. As far as players, depending on what happens with Rajon Rondo, I really see the Kings going after Chris Dunn. And if Rondo does sign, then I see him going after Buddy Hield.
Now, so basically, that's the two targets you have there. Now, you did mention the Rajon Rondo situation. Even if Rondo's gone, do you still think Darren Collison still can't run the point guard, or is Collison still better suited being their sixth man?
No, absolutely. Darren Collison's a starting caliber point guard. And he's on a great contract. I think he's getting paid $5 to $6 million a season, which is a bargain. I think he's capable of doing it, but I think his role better fits him coming off the bench. So with that said, there is a small possibility that I really do believe now that Mike Conley is an option. I would say about 5%, because before it was 0%. But there's a slight hope of the Kings trying to sign a guy like Mike Conley, even though I think it's far-fetched. But if I'm them, I go and I build through the draft and I draft a guy like Chris Dunn.
Lastly, do you keep the pick or do you trade the pick? If the Kings are offered, would you keep it and draft the guy, or would you try to move it?
Well, if I'm the Kings, I keep it, or I move down and try to get the best player available. Like I said, I believe Chris Dunn's their guy, and if he's supposed to go anywhere in the top 6, then I would do everything possible to try to get one of those picks.
So, last question before we let you out of here. You're in the war room. You're saying Chris Dunn's your guy. If Buddy Hield, Chris Dunn, and Jamal Murray are on the board, let's just say all three of them slide down to Sacramento, which one of the three you take? Because Murray's supposed to go in the top 5. Mark, you think Murray's top 5 guy, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's just say Murray slides down, and you got some Sam Hinkie type people just drafting bigs everywhere that don't need them. You got the 3 best guards on the court. Do you still take Chris Dunn over the other 2 guards?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Yeah, for Sacramento, yeah. They need Chris Dunn. He's the best for them.
And I love Chris Dunn because he's a
Absolutely.
combo guard. He's a perfect combo guard. If you got 2 combo guards, him and Collison together, that's a nice little tandem, especially since your 2 guards is actually Ben McLemore. Enough said. Well, before we let you out of here, I know you've been pulling some double duty now. I know the Kings are out of the playoffs. Tell everybody about your playoff work and also the main site where everybody can find you.
Well, you guys can find my work on cowbellkingdom.com. Follow us on all social media platforms. And I've been covering some playoff coverage for B-Ball Breakdown. So if you want to catch some of my stuff on there too, just visit bballbreakdown.com and, just follow us on all social media platforms, man. We provide frontline coverage of the Sacramento Kings, and we have a great team here at Cowbell Kingdom.
Also, starting this week, if you check us out on Facebook, everything Cowbell Kingdom has to offer that they post will also be on the NBA FCP page as well, too. So basically, check if you're Kings fans, you can't figure it out, and you're actually on our site, you can actually see all the work over there. Click on their articles, support them, because they're one of the best. You're going to find anywhere. Not going to take anything from our good friend Jason Jones out there, because Jason's the man out there, even though he's about the size of Kevin Hart. That's my boy out there. But outside of Jason, there's not another group of guys and girls that work harder than Cowbell Kingdom. So, Leonel, thanks for coming on, man, last minute. But we got to do this again, and next time we do, you got to tell me where to get one of those King shirts, because I don't know about Mark, but that shirt with the lion on it is sick.
It's pretty nice, huh?
Yeah. Are you going to be out in Vegas for Summer League?
I think I am.
So we might have to catch up for Summer League out in Vegas. But, Lionel, thanks for coming on, my friend. We're going to do this again probably either after the draft or before Summer League.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Hey, thanks. As we go to break, as you just heard, we just went through basically the first 4 teams, actually first 5 teams in the lottery in about 20 minutes, 25?
Yeah.
We still got 13. We still got another 8 more teams to go, and Marc's will also give us some insight on some of the other teams in the draft. And we get back from the top of the hour break. We get to the top of the hour break. But when we get back, Marc's going to give us a little insight on the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Toronto Raptors, 2 teams that are in the lottery. Also, we have coming up the Denver Nuggets as well as the New Orleans Pelicans, among other teams. This is Full Court Press Radio, the Draft Lottery Edition. Myself, my main man, Marc Johnson, a.k.a. Breakdown Sport. We're breaking down the draft.